Hello, this is Flights in Asia, and today's video will take us to Hong Kong as border restrictions have been eased, renewing enthusiasm for travel to and from Hong Kong. After the easing of border restrictions that have been criticized over the past few years, Hong Kong's aviation industry is experiencing what could be described as a rough restart. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, Hong Kong has had some of the toughest border restrictions of any country or territory to date. While other countries have eased restrictions or have completely eliminated them, the city has been heavily criticized by aviation industry and business folks alike for continuing to keep the tough border restrictions even after more than 2.5 years after the initial outbreak of COVID-19, something which has heavily taken a toll on the Hong Kong economy. As things are reopening, there have been questions raised regarding the state of hometown airline Cathay Pacific and its ability to handle the anticipated recovery in air travel demand. Also, its budget subsidiary, HK Express, is looking to be canceling flights to start 2023, despite a recent surge in travel bookings. And a prominent global airline, Virgin Atlantic, is no longer going forward with plans to return to the city. Before we get to those stories, we'll take a look and recap what has transpired over the last few years. As I mentioned, Hong Kong has had some of the toughest border restrictions for entry to the city during the whole COVID-19 pandemic. One of the highly criticized restrictions has been the mandatory hotel quarantine for both travelers and flight crew alike. At the peak of this quarantine requirement, those arriving into Hong Kong would have to undergo the quarantine that would take as long as 21 days at its peak. Recently, this has been reduced to just 3 days. Flight crews were even under more scrutiny, with their movements restricted both at home and abroad. This heavily affected the hometown airline Cathay Pacific Group, which to deal with this would implement a system that would have pilots work multiple flights for a month before undergoing the regular quarantine and testing requirements. Referred to as a closed-loop system, the pilots would have to be isolated away except for conducting flight duties, taking them away from opportunities to see their family and friends for more than a month and a half in some cases. Like many of its global counterparts, Hong Kong has seen a drop in air passenger traffic, though the restrictions for entry back into the city has discouraged residents from traveling abroad. During the last few years, there has been discontent with the entry restrictions set by the Hong Kong city government from residents and those with interest in the city such as the business folks along with the flight crew of airlines. This has resulted in questions regarding the future of Hong Kong as both a business and aviation hub in Asia. It has also led to the resignations and an exodus of pilots who have left for other opportunities elsewhere. Fast forward to this point, Hong Kong has made headlines with the easing of its border restrictions after more than 2.5 years, with the primary basis being the assessment of the city's COVID-19 situation. While that is the main cited reason, the announcement was met with delight from those who have been calling for the easing of them both at home and abroad. This has led to renewed optimism as the city is looking to revive its aviation industry. Cathay Pacific has launched a new, huge recruiting drive for staff and especially for pilots. And the Hong Kong city government is launching a promotion to offer free tickets to travel to the city. Many eager Hong Kongers looking to travel now have very much created so much traffic for some of the airline websites that they have crashed. The recent difficulties in travel bookings by Hong Kongers is just one of the few problems that have emerged, with a new question of whether Hong Kong is capable of handling the aviation recovery to bring the city back to the pre-pandemic prominence it had. Among the organizations raising questions regarding the readiness of Hong Kong and its ability to handle the recovery has been the Hong Kong-based union, the Hong Kong Aircrew Officers Association, which pointed out that the pilot exodus that the airline has experienced threatens the airline's ability to rebuild its capacity. While the airline has been reported to be mounting a recruiting drive, the union pointed out that the airline currently has fewer than 2,500 pilots, compared to the roster of 4,000 pilots in October of 2020. In a statement, the HKAO said that the departures were concentrated among senior crew who have been with the airline for decades, further adding that the airline was also seeing experienced pilots continuing to resign at unprecedented rates. On Cathay Pacific's side, they have disputed the stance of the HKOA. In a report by RTHK, Cathay Pacific said, quote, Cathay Pacific has sufficient qualified and experienced aviation professionals to continue to support the current operation and operate at the highest levels of safety and customer service. Meanwhile, Cathay Pacific's budget arm, HK Express, has also experienced some of its own problems. The airline experienced a spike in bookings leading to problems with the airline's website. Adding to the woes, some customers have complained about buying plane tickets with the airline only to find the ticket price plunge in value. The airline also drew some ire with an announcement that the airline is reassessing its flight schedules from January 15, which could result in some of them being cancelled. This happened only weeks after announcing an increase in flights to popular destinations in the region. While the hometown airlines are experiencing their own problems, foreign airlines who serve Hong Kong are assessing their services to and from the city. Among these airlines, it has resumed that one airline, Virgin Atlantic, is no longer going forward with plans to resume flights to and from the city. The British carrier will no longer resume its London-Hong Kong flights, which were originally planned to restart in March. While the Russia-Ukraine conflict was a factor cited in Virgin Atlantic's decision, combined with the situation in Hong Kong, some might find it unsurprising. These are just some stories of what could be described as a rough restart for the Hong Kong aviation industry, and a city looking to gain back the prominence as an aviation hub not just for Asia but the world. It seems the city is at its lowest point in terms of aviation, and is playing catch-up now with the other Asia hubs like Singapore, which started reopen sooner than Hong Kong has. Many, such as IATA Director General Willie Walsh, points out that the damage has been done to Hong Kong's aviation industry. In a recent report by Reuters, Walsh was quoted saying, quote, Cathay Pacific is a shadow of its former self. As a result, Hong Kong has lost its position as a global hub and will struggle to regain it because other hubs have taken advantage of it. Looking at what has transpired, it's very hard to dispute what Walsh has said. The recovery for Hong Kong as not just an aviation but also a business hub will be a long path, which will include playing catch-up with most of its regional counterparts. More importantly, it will heavily depend on the business confidence of companies with interests in the city. Do you think Hong Kong can recover as an aviation hub? I definitely would love to hear your take, though. In the meantime, this has been Flights in Asia, highlighting the news and updates from the aviation and travel scene in Asia Pacific. For more of the latest updates, you can check out the website at www.flightsinasia.com. Thank you for watching and have a great day.